We've done some ticketing trainings before. I think a lot of us are aware of kind of this process, if not just super high level. You're basically building your ticket from scratch here. You set your priority, your ticket name, who's gonna follow up with it. We're gonna uncheck this box at Iowa. Just another reminder, we don't like using this box. We like building out our custom email reminders. But some new things with ticket data, you can see if you've ever worked with tickets before, and I'll zoom in, this is all kind of a new look. So now we have what's called, it gives you the option to do section names. In the past, if you've wanted to include a lot of ticket data, this can be very ugly. It's like if you want to include, more than a certain number of fields, it's just like jam-packed rows of data in there. And how I chose for this example to break it up, we're going to go back to my survey, is I have a block here with personal information. So I created a ticket detail section that was just personal information. Then I have like their visit details, right? When did they come to the state fair? Is this their first time? How did they hear about it? And then there's like a rating, how are the food options? How was the parking? How was the entertainment? And so that's how I decided to break up my ticket details or my ticket data in here. I did customer information and then, added that in. None of this has changed, right? You still have to type this in and then pipe it in the survey option that correlates with that piece of data you want to pull in. But you can see now we have another section, visit details. This is new. You can see it kind of breaks it out. So it's visually kind of letting you know, and then attendee feedback. A few new things I do want to call out that has changed is now it's a little bit easier to, move these around. And also like your section orders, you can also move those around. So if you don't want your customer information at the top, or you get feedback from your team that, it makes more sense to have them in a different order. It's not like you have to restart from scratch. You can easily move those around. Another change that has come, you can see there's some of these buttons down here. I'm going to come down here since I've actually made some customizations, is there's a hide if null value. This is new, right? So let's say there was a question in your survey that it's kind of a nice to have. Maybe this would be like open text feedback, right? You're hoping people put that in the survey, but you don't want to require it because you want your participation rates and your completion rates to be higher. But you don't want, let's say you have a lot of open text, which also isn't recommended, but if you have a lot of blanks, that kind of makes your ticket look ugly, right? If you have a lot of blank data. And so you can hide that if it's null, which can just clean up that ticket data section a little bit. One thing I do want to call out, if you do choose to click null values, neither you won't see those values. You can see it in your data and analysis, but you won't see it, or a ticket admin won't see those details if it's null, which is fine. But I just want to call that out. But if you use like the hide, like the I button, that means you'll never see it, even if there's data there or not there. Like someone answers the question, but that means that the ticket admins will still see the hidden fields. And I know that's kind of like really getting in the weeds there, but like there might be times where you might be like, I want to like be tracking that, but I don't want to like see it in my ticket. Like there's a lot of different like scenarios that might come up. So I've just put kind of like planting the seed there of like, if we get into some kind of unique ticket data situations, just know we might have some workarounds, right? Where we can hide it, but we can still see that value on the back end. But if you hide, if it's null, then we can't see it. That's just hidden to both ticket admins and yourself. And the next thing you can see is this custom formatting button. So this makes more sense if you have a number, right? Which in my survey, if you remember, I had them rank the food options 0 to 10, which anyways, that was just the default. I need to clean that up. This is not a great example of a really pretty survey by any means. But yeah, 0 to 10. So you can have some benchmarking here where if that rating is less than 5, we're going to have it be red. You can change the colors here. I would say there's not a lot of color options, but it makes sense, right? You have your red, orange, gray, and green. And then you can choose the icon, right? I imagine one day maybe we could get a little more custom with this, but this is the options as of version 1 of what we are offering. So if it's less than 5, we're getting the red number with a thumbs down. If it's between 5 and 7, we're getting orange. And then if it's greater than 7, if they had a decent experience, and we're going to get that green with a thumbs up. You don't have to have an icon. You can see there's a none here. So I just did that for all of the different rating scales that we have. And one thing I do want to call out, I did this by setting up this demo, and I was like, I wonder how many other people are going to do this. You can notice it makes this really long, right? It's really kind of clunky looking. And I was like, oh, I wonder if just by unchecking this, I can like close out, like bring that up. That's what you use this little up and down arrow for. That closes it out. When I was testing it, I just because if you click, I'll unclick it, right? It closes it out. And I was like, oh, that's how you like bring that section up so it's not so long and clunky. So just make sure when you're wanting to like kind of hide that section once you've set your custom formatting, don't unclick it, click the up arrow so that it hides it. Because you can see now here, if I click back in, where is it? It will, when I did it the first time, it made me reset all my benchmarks when I unclicked it. I think the default's like 0 and 100. So anyways, just wanted to call that out. That's how you hide that piece. Let me see. The next thing we're going to jump to, Jessica or Hunter, if you have any other things with the ticket data, let me know. The next thing I was going to jump to was the ticket highlights section. Anything else with the ticket data I missed?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, perfect. Jumping into ticket highlights. So this is an optional setting. And I'll jump into a ticket here in a second so we can see what it actually looks like once we've like ran a workflow, we're getting the ticket. But this is optional, but it brings whatever ticket data here that we just set to the top of the ticket. And I feel like my only beef with this, sorry, got to go back down. This section, here we go, ticket highlights, is that you have to set something from into ticket highlights. It has to be a piece of ticket data first. We had to set it in that previous section. So it is a little bit duplicative, it seems like, because you see it in the ticket details, but it's also pulled to the top. So, I mean, you could set it where whatever you want your ticket details to be, you just put those at the top, right? You create a top section. And what I'm talking about here is, maybe you say like most important, like, I mean, that's just how I would set it up. My most important things, I'd put it at the top section of my ticket data. Like that's how I would set it up, right? We're still kind of figuring out all the use cases of when we like to use these different features. But just so we know, this is, if you want to bring 3 pieces of ticket data to the very top, this is where you're doing that, is through the ticket highlights. So you see the only options I have to even put in the ticket highlights are things that I set as ticket data above. One thing that is interesting or helpful, let's see. Okay, I do have an open text feedback here. And like I said earlier, sometimes we don't want those to be required questions. And so you can create a custom message when there's empty comments, which is probably going to happen more often than not if you're using additional like feedback open text. So I just, my custom message that I put for the ticket, if there's no data, is the attendee did not provide feedback. You can uncheck this if it doesn't make sense, or you can check it. So that is kind of the ticket highlights. I feel like this section makes the most sense if I show you what it looks like in the ticket itself. Let me see if there's anything else. The placeholder message. Oh, I do want to call out, back in the previous version, before we had these new features, there was a ticket score section when setting up a ticket, and there was a ticket comments section. We never really touched those pieces. A lot of the time that's more for enterprise clients. It's like creating a score for your ticket, right? Like, oh, this person got a score. You can see now when setting up a ticket, those 2 fields don't exist. You can now build those 2 sections into your ticket data. So if you ever do want to like use something similar to that, like adding ticket comments or a ticket score, just know those functionalities still exist. It's just, it doesn't look like it used to look. I know that's kind of not super helpful because I don't think anyone in the state of Iowa has ever used those 2 sections, but just like to call it out so you're not thinking it's broken if you don't see those anymore. Oh, one more thing. I think Jessica will appreciate this one. And this is also getting a little bit into the weeds. But with the ticket details and ticket highlights, we have a lot of options to reorganize, right? You see all these little hamburger buttons on the side, we can reorganize. But I will say, if you're using an API, you won't want to reorder those. That is one thing I did find in the support pages that I would never have known unless I was digging deep. But like once you push publish and you have an API, you won't want to reorder those. And if you do need to reorder them, there's like a step-by-step guide on how to do that without messing up the data. But I just wanted to call that out. Like if you have an API, it's kind of same with like APIs or tickets, right? You want to make sure things are set to go. We don't want to be making too many edits if those two things are present with our workflows.
That's good to know. We have a few that use APIs, so that's a good call out. Didn't know that. Yeah. I will say the reason why we don't recreate the Qualtrics support pages, like you might be a little disappointed in the Qualtrics product releases. You'll see the Qualtrics, I give you a very good link to Qualtrics support. They do an outstanding job. And so why reinvent the wheel? So when I give you those links, I strongly take you directly to what we're talking about. So I do want you to encourage you, like they do an outstanding job. And I'm saying that like not as a Qualtrics product owner. So, I've had multiple hats and worked with a lot of support, top notch, easy to find, easy to read, easy, nice screenshot. So you're like, well, Jessica didn't provide anything. I didn't need to. So just take it directly to that highlight into the Qualtrics support page. The video then just adds to it to give you more of a visual understanding is what we're trying to do. So yes, thank you, Brooke. Like always check the resources in Qualtrics. They do a really good job. And if you find something that doesn't make sense, they'll fix it pretty fast too. So go for it, Brooke.
Great call out. Thank you. I use the support pages basically every day just to double check, right? You want to make sure you're not missing anything. They have what's called like the Q tips. If you've ever looked, and it kind of gives you a little bit deeper, like, hey, keep this in mind. I'm always checking those. So great call out. Just because we're short on time here, we'll go into a ticket that I've already created. So I don't have to, take the survey and do that whole process. And I'm just in a test account here. Let's see. Okay, so this is kind of a new view of what we're seeing here. So you see that I created some ticket highlights. I just chose some arbitrary fields here of like, is it really important if they're a first time attendee? We're really maybe the governor or whoever runs state fair, the food options are really important to them. What was that rating? And then I just put test as my additional feedback here. So you see that gets brought to the very top. Our ticket details that we set are still here. And that nice, pretty formatting that we added, right? If it's, greater than a certain number, show the thumbs up with the green. So maybe that's helpful. Or maybe you just want to highlight like one or two. You don't want to highlight everything. This is all customizable, right? You can make it look however you want that's really highlighting that data. And I think that's the biggest enhancement with this feature is I feel like the data is not getting lost in just some big column of like data or like a list anymore. It's like we can make it stand out. We can break it into sections. We can highlight, make it green or bold with the most important information. I'll let you guys decide, if the ticket highlights is helpful to that or if we'd rather just see that information here. It's not that much lower, right? So it's just whatever works the best for your team here. Any other comments, Jessica, on kind of the visual of this or like best practice for Iowa?
The only thing that we do that's not showing the demo, and Brooke has helped us with our best practices, but she's already built this, but like we do include the response PDF as something. So you could always say, yep. That could be a section header where it says ticket customer information. You could say response PDF, and we can have that response PDF in there as well. Like there's many ways to do that, but we always encourage for Iowa's best practice, if you've been in our previous training, to always have the PDF, but you also have it down the customer server response, but sometimes it gives and takes, and we just rather get it up at the top for you as well. So you can decide how much data you should put in that ticket details. Recommended, I'm thinking, Brooke, please correct me, but not always put all of it in there. It's too much to digest, right? What is your actionable items maybe should be on there. And then if you need more information, you can link it to your survey response in a PDF format. The only thing I've asked, since we have quite a few new people here, so Brooke, how she created this survey or how it even came to be, she filled out a survey or a form or an application and she hit submit. And then this is the workflow that generated this ticket. And what the benefit of this ticket is also known as a closed loop system. many of you have a lot of forms. I'm seeing an agency that's just built a brand new one that would need to go in here, and you're actually taking action on them. This is where you can document everything in one-stop shop. So again, this isn't a closed loop list system training, but I do think, I'm hoping for the new people on the call can see the art of the possible, which is what we say quite a bit here in this office hours. So any questions